at a cost of having the lowest range and the worst accuracy, i.e. the most assault rifle. Maybe a bit more passive, since the handling characteristics of the QBB LSW are very slow, i.e. you have a slower movement speed, the least. The foregrip is very good for the QBB LSW, since it does have a lot of recoil compared to the other light machine guns, but at the range that does require the foregrip, it is not really very effective, taking quite a few shots to kill, and even with the foregrip you will still have a fair amount of recoil. FMJ increases the penetration of the QBB LSW and also increases the damage you do against score streaks. It is not really suited for shooting through cover, and I didn't find that using it made it much easier to get enemies through cover. You still had, it was still much more effective to get them through without any cover in the way of shooting them. Quick Draw is also it's a moderately good attachment. I find that if I use it I tend to be more aggressive, and that is not a very good idea with the QBB LSW, because even with the Quick Draw attachment you still have quite a long aim down sight time, and also it feels like the bullets take much longer to become accurate when you are using a light machine gun than with, say, an assault rifle, because of the very poor hipfire performance. The stock attachment increases your movement speed whilst aiming, but that's not really that important, since you should be behind cover with the QBB LSW at most times, and even if you do use it, I didn't find that it benefited me that much from moving the QBB LSW, because it has a very poor hipfire characteristics, to say the least. It reduces the range even more of the QBB LSW, and it already has a very poor range performance, so I wouldn't suggest using it. And also you're near the middle of the back from the fight and picking people off from a distance. Rapid Fire is a very good attachment for the QBB LSW. It means that you are much more effective in the ranges that the QBB LSW is already pretty good. But what I did find is that the fire spread of any light machine gun is very poor, and it does introduce a lot more recoil. The non-optical attachment I'm going to recommend is the extended clip attachment, and that is very important if you're trying to repel waves and waves of enemies, and doing that you're going to chew through the ammunition very quickly, and especially because the QBB LSW has a low magazine capacity to begin with, and it also has a very high fire rate, so extended clip is a very worthwhile to yourself, what you prefer, what you don't prefer. There's no real sort of advantage or disadvantage. Sure, they have different zoom levels, but again, that's not really that helpful if you have zoomed in a little bit more. It just gives you a bit more range, but I don't feel that it is important either way, so it's really up to you. However, I never liked the dot. The reflex sight is pretty good. In fact, that's the one I'm going to recommend, because, you know, at the kind of ranges that the reflex sight is good, is sort of medium range, and that's also where the Q attachment, it lets you see enemies much easier, and it also means that you can shoot enemies inferior to the it's not really inferior to the target finder, but I think it offers the same amount, so I strongly suggest not using it. I always find the hybrid optic a little bit awkward to use, although the attachment is similar to the zoom attachment, kind of out of place on the QBB LSW, since it offers W. Because you're going to have to be in a bit more of a defensive position, using flak jacket and tactical mask will help you out greatly, because it prevents enemies from killing you with explosives, or makes it much harder to kill you with explosives. And tactical mask just means that the sight's a lot. Toughness is a basic must, because you're going to be shot at, and if you do, you're going to lose the target due to flinching. For the lethal, you should probably go with a grenade, because you are a little bit further back from the fighting, and a grenade has a bigger impact radius, and then the Semtex, and the Semtex are more sort of a close range grenade anyway. Concussion grenades are good, although if you feel that you're getting flanked a lot, you can probably use shock charges as well, and just make sure that they can't get you from behind as easily. A secondary is important for the light machine guns, because the reload times are very long with them. So just pick your favorite secondary. I usually just use the 5.7 since the first of gun, and I have a few attachments for it. But of course you don't have a spare slot for a secondary attachment. So there you go. This is the class that I recommend for the QBB LSW. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time.